travel through time to help history along. Give it a push where it's needed. When the Omni's red, it means history's wrong. Our job's to get everything back on track. Green light, kid. We did it.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Are they in the proper approach pattern for today?
Negative.
Hold the weapon! Now! Charge the lightning field.
Imagine having time in the palm of your hand to be able to team up with the greatest heroes and make love to the prettiest heroine.
If anybody knows women, dog.
So jump in on the action, adventure, and fun.
It's all in a day's work.
Have the time of your life with Voyagers, Sundays at 7, 6 Central and Mountain on NBC.
Voyagers?
Bat's breath.
Oh, bat's breath.
Is it the worst?
Catchphrase?
Yeah. Exclamation catchphrase?
I mean, of all time? Probably not. Of stuff that we cover? It's not great.
I feel like it makes the least amount of sense of all of them that I can think of.
I don't know.
There's plenty of comic book ones.
Yeah, I mean, Great Caesar's Ghost.
Oh, My Stars and Garters.
Oh, My Stars and Garters. That's a good one.
But see, those make sense.
Yeah.
I don't understand where the bat's breath comes
Bat's
from.
breath? I don't know. It feels like that should be an ingredient in some sort of elixir that he's cooked up.
Yeah. I feel like if he was Merlin's protege, in some cheesy King Arthur thing, and is like,
Yeah.
oh, bat's breath. It evokes a gothic, medieval, mystic arcanery, not pseudo-future, possible aliens time travel. I don't know, but we can get into those specific details.
Eye of Newt! Ugh.
Is that Newt from Aliens? Are you taking her eyes?
I don't know if I want to go down this path, actually. That seems uncomfortable. Well, welcome back to Dispatch Ajax.
Like you hear about in the street. This is that Dispatch Ajax.
Yeah, right there on the tip of everyone's tongue. We are doing...
A show that no one watches. I think we're about to talk about that.
What? That's crazy. I'm Skip, and
Yeah, I'm Jake.
yeah, that's true.
We are Voyagers together on this podcast through time.
Man, I went down a crazy rabbit hole trying to find some stuff for this, and had very little luck, but I know there is periphery that exists around it. There were junior novels extending the universe.
I could see that.
Yeah, couldn't find any. I looked real hard.
Just in reference to what we're talking about, which you have no point of reference, this is
yeah.
the latest in our Sci-Why FU series about shows that were on the Sci-Fi Channel, why they were unique, interesting, and ultimately failures, almost all the ones that we speak about, and how that fits into the totality of the Sci-Fi Channel's oeuvre. And today, Skip is taking us on a voyage.
Yes. Far out in the cosmos, there exists a planet known as Voyager, where the mystery of travel into space and through time has been solved. It's inhabited by a race who call themselves Voyagers. It's not just a clever name.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll explain this in just a moment. I gotta finish this monologue.
Okay. I was just surprised that yeah, okay.
Their purpose is to keep constant surveillance on history. Oh, like their Palantir. These people have a time machine device, the Omni, which will take them into the past, present, or future. Yeah, all right. As each Voyager graduates, he's given an Omni and a guidebook. One such graduate, Phineas Bogg, who is assigned as a field worker to operate in certain time zones. So that comes from later in the show, after it had been canceled, they tried to bundle a bunch of the episodes together that they had left into a movie of Reverse Battlestar Galactica. And so they created this narrator guy that doesn't appear in the show, and it isn't a person, just an omnipresent narrator, to explain what they were trying to get to in the latter parts of the season. But since it got canceled...
See. Okay.
This is very much like a lot of our Highlander episodes.
It's a good painting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. May not be through the greatest means, but...
Use that AI, that top picture on the top of the page?
Actually, no, I think it's just more photoshopped. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, the copyright ended in 2020, so they didn't really have a lot of AI stuff like that did.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it we're talking about?
Well, we are talking today... Oh, man. Let me preface this by saying, I wanted to do this series specifically because this is a show that I only knew of its existence because of early Sci-Fi Channel. This is a show my dad remembers watching live and was super excited when it was on the Sci-Fi Channel because there was almost no outlet for these types of shows that were canceled. And so for me, this show was kind of like one of the consummate Sci-Fi Channel purposes. Shows that no one would have seen otherwise. Maybe didn't get the full life it deserved, but now would sort of be forever seen by newer audiences. When the Sci-Fi Channel was still what it was intended to be. This show is, it's part Quantum Leap, it's part Back to the Future, especially Back to the Future 2, it's part Doctor Who, part Time Bandits.
Yeah, a little bit of sliders in there.
A tiny bit of sliders. It's all about causality, it's all about the idea that there's something wrong with history, and somebody has to go back in time and make sure everything goes the way it's supposed to. I find that premise more and more hard to embrace as the world sucks more and more. Why are you fixing these things? It might have been way better than it is now. Why? Don't do that.
There's literal questions about, they jump into timelines that are quote-unquote wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But do those timelines blink out of existence? Or are they just drawn back to previous strings and they've just branched off? If only they had time.
There was time now.
But there wasn't for Voyagers.
No, not for Voyagers. Even with, let's take Quantum Leap, for example. There's at least an underpinning of the structure in the way that his, like the guidance for his actions went. It seems like there was oversight and things like that. But they explain them. In this show, the guy that's a Voyager who travels back in time has a pseudo pocket watch. What it is doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it is technically his time travel device. And I feel like if you need to change nuances in time, I think you would probably have a better device than a pocket watch that just has a picture of whatever continent you're on and then a red or green light.
But this was simpler times.
Well, Sound of Thunder came out a long time before that, so I feel like maybe you could be more complicated with that. I don't know.
Well,
but
I mean, let's be honest, this was made for kids.
Even though the reason it got canceled because it went against 60 Minutes on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do with that?
You should walk us through what the show is.
Essentially, there's a swashbuckling ex-pirate turned time traveler recruited by whom? No idea. Answerable to whom? No idea. But is charged with making sure that the timeline plays out in a, I guess, favorable way to Western society. The way that time is supposed to work. So any incursions in that, he's sent back and has his nonsensical pocket watch that shows whether or not he's fixed the timeline or if it's still messed up. It's not all that detailed. It really is just kind of that blunt. In the first episode, our protagonist, for lack of a better word, Phineas Bogg, accidentally lands in the apartment of a child. He's an orphan. He's like living with his aunt and uncle. Even though it's an amazing fucking high-rise apartment in New York, so I don't feel that bad for him.
Well, I think they don't love him or want him, so...
No, they hate him. He's very Dickensian, but in a weird, reversed environment, He's not living in a workhouse. He's not living like Tiny Tim.
No.
He's living in a giant penthouse apartment.
In the show, I have never seen another film or show that dives directly in to the plot and action faster than this.
First 10 seconds.
Within the first 2 minutes, they have explained that he's an orphan. His aunt and possible future uncle-in-law, they don't want him. They're trying to find a way to get rid of him. Then Phineas shows up and voyaging ensues. They just run with it after that. There's no time for exposition. There's no time for character.
Nope.
It just go.
Yeah, it really does feel like this was the sizzle reel that they sold the studio. And then they were like, well, now we have to tack on the rest of the episode.
Yeah, stop drilling, you hit gold. Go from there.
Done and done. You're right. I mean, it's straight off the bat. There's no lead up to it. It reminds me a lot, and we'll get into this, but it reminds me of Time Bandits in that sense, where this outside presence comes in, changes the little kid's reality about time travel, and they just go. It goes full bore, super intense right off the bat. One of the reasons I really was interested in doing this is because it does seem to, I don't know if it directly inspires a lot of stuff later, but it has so much in common with so many other shows and movies and properties that come later that you have to wonder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Phineas Bogg, who is played by John Eric Hexum, and this is going to be a very interesting and dark turn, a la Misfits of Science. He's a member of a society called the Voyagers, aided by the character Jeffrey Jones, Rutrow, played by Mino Pellucci in 1982. The entire concept is that the quote-unquote Voyager, the John Eric Hexum character, carries around a quasi-pocket watch, which is supposed to determine whether what time period he's been sent to is aligned with our quote-unquote correct timeline. So if there's an error in time, he's supposed to be there to fix it so that things go kosher for the rest of the timeline.
There's a second item that he needs as well.
A guidebook, a la Back to the Future 2. This is very much the sports almanac. Every Voyager is given a guidebook, which gives you exactly what happened in history.
The Voyagers are kind of like the time variance authority in that show. Yes, and there's the ultimate timeline, the golden timeline, whatever. The way that the TVA would go in and prune things that weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, the Voyagers go in and they readjust the timelines. I mean, it's almost identical to Quantum Leap, though a good 10 years before. Because it comes out in 1982, and surprisingly, I think does have a lot of influence on a lot of stuff that comes. To continue the premise, Phineas Bogg, yawn, meets Jeffrey Jones, cringe, when Bogg's Omni malfunctions and then takes him to 1982. Now, I don't know why this is the case, but the premise of his time jumping is that he's not supposed to be able to go past the year 1970?
For plot reasons.
For reasons, I guess. But it malfunctions, and so then he goes into 1982. He lands in the skyscraper apartment of our young Jeffrey Jones, not the child molester. Jeffrey Jones is...
Well, maybe he'll grow up to be that. We don't know.
Well, considering Jeffrey Jones was in Howard the Duck in 1986...
What if he grew through time as a Voyager and then came back older and then nobody just knows where he came from? I mean, I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah, you're saying it definitely is possible that the premise of this show is that the child version of a pedophile goes back in time and joins with a guy that travels through time so that he can not molest children?
No. That has to happen. It's very important to the timeline.
Oh, okay. Anchored in time. Immutable events.
This is one of those SA timelines that needs to happen.
Yeah. Maybe it was that Lovecraftian alien ray that comes in Howard the Duck that possesses him.
Sure.
It's the pedophile alien ray.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, not that Jeffrey Jones is what we're saying. Just some kid played by Mino Pellucci. In the first episode, Phineas Bogg and Jeffrey meet when Boggs' Doctor Who-ish MacGuffin malfunctions and takes him to 1982, lands him in the high-rise apartment of Jeffrey Jones, who lives with his aunt and uncle, not at all like Harry Potter. And Boggs' guidebook, the thing that explains all of history, gets grabbed by the dog, taken off, and then essentially lost forever. They do a time bandits, essentially. They fall through a window. They start traveling through time.
They travel through time because Jeffrey's about to die. And so to save him, he activates his Omni and sends them somewhere in history so they don't die then. So they land in, I think it's Egypt.
Yeah.
They're like, who are you? And you're like, Phineas, you shouldn't be here. Scram, kid. And he's like, you brought me here. What's happening? They run into a baby in a cradle floating down the river. Phineas doesn't give a shit about the kid. He doesn't know what's going on. But Jeffrey's like, what year is it? It's blah, 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 BC. It's like, oh, this is Moses. And then Phineas was like, well, I thought Moses is a tall dude with a big beard and a staff. An idiot. And Jeffrey's pointing out, no, this is Moses. He's going to get found by the Pharaoh's daughter. We have to send Moses down the river so that history unfolds the way it's supposed to. And this is turning Jeffrey into a new MacGuffin. He is the prototypical boy genius, kind of
Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Yes.
Hello again, Peabody here.
Where are we going this time, Mr. Peabody?
But you're just flipping that. So in this, Jeffrey's kind of the dog who knows all about history.
Yes.
And will be the tag along. So he's going to take the place of the guidebook and be able to explain where they are in history, why this is important, who these people are, because I guess his dad was a professor, and through osmosis, Jeffrey absorbed all of human history into his brain.
Of course.
As Alex Jones would say, it's epigenetic memory that has put all of that in there. But
Please buy my boner pills.
Oh, gay frogs.
If you look at the Quantum Leap archetype, he's playing Al in Ziggy. His ephemeral knowledge of all of world history or whatever, which, if you're an American kid in the 70s, I don't really think you have a real grasp on it, by the way.
I mean, maybe better than you do now. Who knows?
I think now...
When is now? Is now?
There's a light that never goes out!
Oh, where's that bus at?
If you had an ejector seat on a podcast, this would be the time to push it.
Bail out. Turn it off. So this sets them on the path that they will follow the rest of the series, which is essentially Jeffrey and Phineas join together because Phineas is the only way that Jeffrey could possibly get home using his magical time travel device. But because it's not set to go past 1970, he can't possibly get him back home just using it. So they go on adventures, and because they can't get back to 1982, where the book is, Jeffrey needs to be the resource for getting them out of inexplicable and extraordinary circumstances they find themselves in each episode to make things right and keep the timeline chugging along smoothly. And of course, they form a relationship, a father-son thing, because he's an orphan, and Phineas grows to respect and kind of love and admire the child in a fatherly way, even though he's cast as a sexy rogue adventurer. A little fish out of water as he's take on that. And I guess it's supposed to be a nerdy kid, becomes an adventurer himself, which is something, at least at the beginning of the first episode, it's something he dreams of, as you have a dream sequence where he plays a pirate who saves the day, saving his mother and father, but he can't live that life, so he does something approximate to that. And they go on adventures episode after episode, jumping to different timelines and saving the day by using knowledge of history to make that happen. As opposed to other sci-fi shows that are kind of designed for adults, this one is kind of designed for kids to be like an action-adventure learning hour.
That's true.
And early 80s and mid-80s, selling things to kids and then needing to make it valuable and enriching by, hey, here's your PSA for the day. Don't take candy from strangers or whatnot. This is kind of a PSA to hey, if you like history, if you found stuff about Cleopatra or the Wright brothers or Babe Ruth or Thomas Edison, you found it interesting, you can find more out about it at your local library, and you should go read about it.
Take a voyage to your nearest public library. It's all in books.
It's a nice sentiment.
Absolutely. There are worse things to do.
It feels weird to place that sentiment and that type of show in the time slot.
Yeah.
Not generally where you find that type of programming. And it's interesting that, was this NBC? Yeah, it was NBC.
Yeah, it was an extremely popular show, surprisingly. But because it was going up against 60 Minutes, it really had no chance. And so at one point, David Letterman did a skit.
Jimmy, are you going to do homework all night? Don't you think you ought to watch a little TV?
I will, Mr. Letterman. I just want to finish in time for my favorite show, Voyagers.
Voyagers. It's a fine program. Keep an eye on the clock so you don't miss one action-packed minute. Jimmy, what do you say we go for a little walk, all right?
What about my show?
Well, we can talk about that outside, okay?
Okay.
Do you know what it means for a show to be canceled?
Yeah. Because at the time, 60 Minutes was thought to be in some trouble, and the ratings were declining a bit. Voyagers was in its time slot opposing. NBC thought they're vulnerable. If we put on a show similar to 60 Minutes, we can overtake them and get that audience. So they made a news magazine program called Monitor.
I figure it took a lot of restraint not to kill her.
Wife beating. If you think it doesn't happen to anyone you know, think again.
He said, you call the cops tonight, I'm gonna kill you.
First camera, Sunday.
Which everyone remembers now.
It failed miserably.
Miserably.
And so they kind of lost both Monitor and Voyagers, which was doing well.
Yeah, especially for what kind of weird show it was.
Yeah, if anything, you don't want to put on exactly the same thing. If you have a wrestling show, you don't put a wrestling show against that wrestling show because you're just going to divide your audience. And the one that has either the one that's better, even if it is better, you have to mine from that other audience, and you're battling history, people's natural inclinations. What is their pattern of life? They've always watched this thing. Why are they going to change to this new thing? It's ideally you do something different for a different audience. The people that are going to watch 60 Minutes were going to watch 60 Minutes. You don't want to break that up to try to do another news show at the same time slot. You do something completely different. So the people that wouldn't watch 60 Minutes, they might watch this, whether it's a sports program or an action show or a kids program or something.
You would think that's how it would work.
You would think. I mean, obviously they thought, 60 Minutes is ripe for overtaking. If we play our cards right, maybe we can be the dominant news show. But they just ended up sacrificing 2 shows for that one and got nothing out of it.
60 Minutes is still 60 Minutes. Eventually, they do hit gold with Dateline because they do it on different nights. If you had just not done it the same night, it probably would have been okay.
Yep.
There are only 20 episodes of the show, and you can see when the writing's on the wall, there are moments where it's pretty clear that they know they're getting canceled. They're trying to sum things up, or they're trying to maybe accelerate the narrative so that someone else will pick them up, which is ironic because that's exactly what would have happened if that show had come out right before Sci-Fi Channel premiered. They do a trial of Phineas Bogg, and he's put on trial by the other Voyagers, help change time, the, Gallifreyan Council.
But just like in Doctor Who, there was a rogue Voyager who's kind of a dark Voyager, trying to manipulate things in his image and get rid of the other Voyagers. He's the one trying to take out Phineas and young Jeffrey.
Yeah, this actually does also occur in Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
There's an evil leaper sets things wrong. God, Donald T. Belisario just fucking ripped this off like 100%.
I mean, in a lot of ways, what if we did Voyagers but for adults? And instead of having to deal with things like who are the Voyagers, how do they get money and clothes, how do they all speak the same language, even though they're in ancient Mesopotamia or in Nazi Germany or things like that. What if we took all those things out of the equation and we just send the essence of our main character into the body of someone else that is important in history, and they will play the particular thing out, get it where it needs to be, as they're always trying to get back home.
Well, gee, what does that sound like?
It's the same thing, but without the kiddiness.
The God stuff.
Yeah.
Quantum Leap gets really heavy into the God stuff. Voyagers feels like a Doctor Who spinoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If Doctor Who had like a Saturday morning spinoff, it would be...
American version.
Yes, it would be Voyagers.
It is the American Doctor Who. It just got canceled because they were putting in the wrong time slot. One of those famous death slots.
Yeah, they just keep trying to hit that refresh button with those programs. Does not work.
Oh, what do you know? You keep trying the same thing over and over again, and it doesn't work. It's incredible. There's a website I'll send you. They have a lot of breakdown on each and every aspect of the show. Man, this is like almost Highlander level fandom stuff here.
When I was watching Voyagers at first, the Voyagers kind of reminded me of the Watchers from the Highlander series.
Yeah, totally.
But it's all this history and it's not explained. you just have no idea
No.
why or what's happening.
Who do they answer to? Who is this authority that they're who is it that's in charge of whatever the continuity is? Who is he answering to? Like, does he get punished, or I don't understand this dynamic at all.
And what is this timeline? Why is this the one that must be?
How god awful are all the other timelines? That this is the best one you got? God, I don't want to live in that world.
They kind of set up some of the stakes in the first episode, where one of the earliest places they fall into, because by turning the machine on, then they just fall through the sky, but only like 2 feet above the ground, so they always make a soft landing.
Oh, yeah.
And they find themselves in World War One, but Germany is winning the war, and they find out that there are no airplanes. And so it's just the superior blimp technology of Germany that is going to have them take over. And they realize, oh,
obviously,
the Wright brothers never invented planes, so America and the Allies are going to lose. We have to go further back into the past and fix the Wright brothers problem. And so, thus, they do that, meet the Wright brothers.
And they teach Ed Begley Jr.
Yes,
how to make a plane.
The Wright brothers are obsessed with the same woman. They don't want to work together. So Phineas seduces the woman. So she wants him instead of the Wright brothers and makes a plane, shows them that it works. So then the Wright brothers, I guess, fix his design slightly or just take credit for his design, which is kind of...
Yeah.
What's the core rule, at least in Star Trek lingo, of time travel? You don't bring future tech, future knowledge into the past, because then it's kind of a recursive loop, right? The Terminator paradox. A Terminator doesn't exist, but the Terminator exists by going into the past, leaving parts of itself that are created, that mined that knowledge to then make a Terminator, that then goes into the past to then make itself. That's a cyclical loop.
And let's stop with Terminator 2. Let's just stop right there. Let's not discuss any of the others further
But
ever.
most of the episodes, at least that I saw, they knew how planes work, and so they built one, and then the Wright brothers used that to then take credit for inventing a plane.
It was a glider, though, wasn't it?
Not an actual plane, but it's a glider that gives them the...
Yeah, the framework,
right, yes,
the basis of it.
The impetus to
then... And then they kind of reversed engineer it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or the same way that Jeffrey goes back to Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth's like, oh, I'm going to give up. But Jeffrey knows baseball, 1982 style baseball. A different style of hitting, which allows Babe Ruth to hit a bunch of home runs and pitch better, 1982 style, which then makes him the best player of all time or whatnot, and he continues playing baseball.
Studied a lot of Royals players.
You're taking knowledge and or tech from the future and putting it in the past, but that never would have happened without you being there?
Yeah, isn't there a serious Ouroboros problem here?
Yes. But again, it's a kid's show. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're fixing things. You're not the cause for these things, which is how that would be in an actual time travel timeline.
Yeah, I mean, that's just essentially the plot of Star Trek First Contact, or even a lot of original series episodes. This is how things are supposed to go, so we're going to guide them along and just hope no one ever talks about us ever. Though they're blatant and use their names constantly.
I mean, in Voyage Home,
kind of like the James Bond
don't they have to like create tech in the 80s?
They created transparent aluminum.
Yes.
Yeah. It was Bones and Scotty at this fucking polymer manufacturing plant. And he gives him the actual chemical formula for transparent aluminum. And the argument is, well, how do we know he didn't invent it? And then Bones is like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, you don't know. You just did that. You may have just fucked things up for everyone forever. What are you talking about? You better make sure before you do that. I can't just go give Da Vinci's designs to some dude walking down the street in Naples in 1450.
Unless that's how it was meant to be. Nothing would happen without them going back in the past and doing, which is, I guess, how you explain those time paradox whatevers.
It's also extremely problematic. But there are some good things about it. I mean, they do stuff about Harriet Tubman, and they do stuff. Certain things you're like, oh yeah, those things should have happened, for sure.
Yeah. Again, it's a fun show for kids, teaching them about history in an adventure setting. The costumes and the settings and production design are, middling.
They're a little lax.
They kind of get the job done for what it's supposed to be. At least there's like every episode, it's widely varied. It could be any time, any place.
Yeah.
So they're really jumping around as a production designer and a costumer. You kind of have to be able to do everything at once, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
To do it perfectly well. So it's serviceable, and they hop around enough that
Yeah.
you don't deal with it enough to see all of the flaws.
Yeah, and they do overlap. Even though it is serialized, they do have a lot of overlap between episodes. A little bit. They do that a little bit in Quantum Leap as well. They do a lot of, especially in the first few episodes, they bounce back and forth between places they've been and stuff they've already done. And they do enough of like bleeding one episode into another that keeps you kind of compelled into the overarching narrative of it. But I don't know that it was, well, obviously it wasn't enough. It just wasn't 60 minutes. So I think if they had put this on a different night, this probably would have been a big hit.
Yeah.
At least, like, even if it was like 4 seasons or whatever, like, still, it would have been
I
huge.
think putting it on in a Saturday morning block where it's shown to kids for kids, I think it would have done gangbusters. It's a fun show. I think the two actors had good chemistry, decent charisma.
Yeah, which is where it gets real sad. What's really weird about this, too, and I was thinking about this earlier today. This was also created by the same guy who created Misfits of Science.
Kind of the poltergeist curse stuff.
That's kind of what I was thinking, too. The show was already canceled. That wasn't the issue. That's not why the show didn't come back. There were plans to bring it back for a second season, but it didn't happen because of a lot of internal politics and things like that. But John Eric Hexum plays Phineas Bogg. Went on to do a couple of different projects. He looked like he was going to be an up-and-coming star. That era, it seemed he was good-looking, acting credentials, and he really did take his craft seriously. He was born in November of 1957. He was first and foremost a model, but then he landed the role in Voyagers because he was up for some movie, and everyone was like, oh, we gotta put this guy in something. So he was eventually cast here in Voyagers, and in 1984, on the set of a show he was on called Cover Up, which was a spy show. He was showing off to some friends backstage how Hollywood works, and he put a gun against his temple, which had blanks in it, which do still have a concussive charge.
Yeah.
By pulling the trigger to impress his friends, he blew his brains out and died instantly. Because of that, Universal, who was the one that produced Cover Up, they re-edited episodes of Voyagers into a film called Voyager of the Unknown, and then Voyagers of the Titanic, the two bleed-over episodes they had of Voyagers. When they got the rights to Voyagers, Sci-Fi Channel used to show the show. Every now and then they would show these, quote, made-for-TV movies. His heart was transplanted into a 36-year-old Las Vegas man at the California Pacific Medical Center. His kidneys and his corneas were also donated. One cornea went to a 66-year-old man and the other to a young girl. And one of the kidney recipients, a 5-year-old boy, and the other was a 43-year-old grandmother of 3 who had waited 8 years for a kidney.
That's nice.
They actually donated some of his skin to a 3.5-year-old boy who was afflicted with 3rd-degree burns. His ashes were scattered in the Pacific near Malibu by his mother. He left a $255,000 estate, and his mother later received an out-of-court settlement with 20th Century Fox and Glenn A. Larson Productions. Genuinely surprised that she actually got any money out of him.
Yeah.
But Mino Pellucci would go on to become a relatively famous photographer. Surprising cameos throughout this show. Guy Stockwell played a character called Reverend Noise. That is Dean Stockwell's brother.
Okay.
Less of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Jonathan Frakes shows up as Charles Lindbergh in an episode. Mako makes an appearance. Shannon Doherty plays a character named Betty Paris. Robert O'Reilly, who plays Gowron in Star Trek. He plays a dude named Klaus in an episode. Ian Abercrombie, who's in the pilot, I think you'd probably remember him best as Mr. Pitt in Seinfeld. Ate the Snickers bar with a fork and knife.
Right.
Played a butler in News Radio. And then Luke Perry, though uncredited, played a Union prisoner in one of their Civil War episodes, of which there were multiple.
Wow. How can you not have multiple Civil War episodes? You need as many as possible. It's hot. It's hot fodder for the young kids.
Everybody loves it nowadays. Everybody's going to Ford's Theater. It's the hottest spot. The show, I loved watching it as a kid. There's only 20 episodes. There's not a lot to get to. It is tragic because John Eric Hexum, you can see why he was going to be a big deal.
Yeah, he looked very like, a little like young Harrison Ford, a little David Hasselhoffy, but sexier.
The Aryan David Hasselhoff. He was going to be big. I do think he was going to be big. From everything I read, there were articles about it. He was going to be the next It guy, the new Hollywood version of Robert Redford. It's a real tragedy. But it only lasted 20 episodes. It did catch on, but just got overshadowed.
And you found it because it was on the Sci-Fi Channel in the early 90s. You can see how this show probably influenced, at least conceptually, a lot of things that came after it.
A lot.
Yeah. You can see how, like, this was influenced by Doctor Who. Good artists imitate, great artists steal, right?
Glenn Larson, Donald D. Belisario, yeah. All the greatest thieves. I mean, really, this is where you get Quantum Leap, the plot of Back to the Future 2. A lot of Doctor Who obviously influenced it. I feel like there's so many things that came after this that we take for granted in the genres we enjoy that were pretty much just ripped off from this show. Even though it didn't last long, it definitely had influence on a lot of stuff.
It's true. And it wasn't a bad show. Something to go out and see. I'd never heard of the show before you had suggested it. I never saw it as a kid. I didn't know anything about it. It was a fine enough show.
It's a fun romp.
Yeah.
Especially since you can see what it influenced later. Well, especially since it used to air, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's about right.
I mean, that's perfect for what it should have been.
Exactly. If you're you and I, in the good to late bad stuff of Sci-Fi Channel, they're going to show something at 9 o'clock in the morning and we're hungover and get up early. This would be the perfect show.
As Voyagers.
Unfortunately, at that point, they were doing Blood Surf, but, But this was the kind of stuff they would show at that time. And that was always really, really great. When Sci-Fi Channel was good.
You said that they're from another planet. I don't see them explain that in any episodes I saw on the show. They took lore from the show when they made the movie and made this canon. But what is this planet of humans? But they're also taking people from the past? Like they're just plucking regular humans to put them on this planet, correct?
Well, yeah, you just explained the planet Zeist.
There can only be one Voyager.
Looks like some kind of courtroom.
Fog, I'm scared.
Hey, nothing to be scared about. We're back in school.
School? This doesn't look like PS 132.
You're at school. This is my alma mater. Voyager School.
Well, what are we doing here?
I don't know. Must be a class reunion or a homecoming or something. Can't wait to see the old gang.
That part of the lore, they only reveal later because they know the show's being canceled.
It's so many questions.
We already had questions like, who are they? Who do they answer to? They don't include that part of the lore until they start bundling it as movies. Well, then why would you bring up more questions? Like, if you're trying to bundle it up, if you're trying to end it, why bring up more shit that now we need to know about?
I can kind of see it as opposed to a serialized story where someone's supposed to pick up on details as the show goes on. If you're trying to bundle up into a movie, just like, hey, this is who these people are, this is what's happening. You're not going to get any more backstory than what I'm telling you right now. Drop you into it, go. When they made David Lynch's Dune, they recut it into director unauthorized version. That's the one that he has disowned, that quote-unquote Alan Smithy directed. But in that version, they do a different history of Dune. I mean, they get into the Butlerian Jihad. They just do still shots of paintings that I think were supposed to be material for reference ideas. But they do a different voiceover that further explains the world. They cut out Irulan talking about it. Here's more info.
It's a computer that talks to Paul.
Well, technically, no. It's different. They just found a guy who did this.
Well,
it's not connected.
I felt like that was supposed to be the idea. Granted, I'm doing the work for them.
Yeah, it doesn't play out anything like the history book that is in the actual film. It's very much just an added-on opening. We think you need more details of this world, and we're going to put it in the way we deem fit. It's something that never would happen nowadays. No one's going to take Gladiator and recut the opening to do this voiceover explaining the history in these characters. I mean, I know of some re-editing for content and for length, but I can't think of anything where someone has completely added whole cloth new stuff to a film that wasn't there before. And not like a director's cut version.
Justice League.
But that is what the actual product that came out. This isn't like someone have a film come out, when they put it to TV, then they put in, a new intro, new dialogue, things like that.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
That's like a studio, well, we need to go in a different direction. We're going to have a different director. But that was the original vision of the studio that came out. This isn't like a TV station getting rights to the product and then re-editing it for what they thought would play better for television.
That is bizarre.
It's just something that doesn't happen nowadays. I mean, partially because we're way past both VHS, DVD, and streaming. So there's no reason for massive re-edits like that. A lot of the movies that come out now, they are on content-specific channels, so you don't have to re-edit for nudity or foul language, even though you are getting elements of that in some things. But usually those are done by a director will take over, so when Spielberg put out E.T. again and they took out the guns for flashlights,
walkie-talkies.
Yeah, stuff like that. But that's also the actual filmmaker going in and changing it. It's not like a whole different entity who happens to have the rights and is putting it on a new platform and changing it for their own things. There are versions of that. There's those Christian film editors, entire companies that take films and Christianize them, that take out, depending on what you want to show, quote unquote, your family or your congregation. I'd like to show The Transporter, but any excessive violence, sexual content, drug use, foul language, non-Christian values. Sure, the film only ends up being 12 minutes long, but
right.
At least a decade ago, that was a popular thing. You could pay for people to re-edit a film in the way you wanted it, and then they'd send you a copy of that in their own version. I don't know the legality of all of that. I'm sure there's some way skirting around, quote, fan edits of things. And maybe because...
Yeah, Paramount did set a lot of those copyright laws because of all the Star Trek fan films. We talked about that before.
And I guess if you're not mass producing it or putting out for wide use, in the same way that you could make a t-shirt for a singular person that has Tweety riding a sandworm with the Toronto Raptors mascot through the yellow brick road, that's fine because it's a singular use of all of these intellectual properties, but you couldn't make that and sell it widely mass-produced because you'd have copyright infringement on those intellectual properties. Maybe that's how they get around that?
Maybe. I mean, I'm just shocked you've seen my ass tattoo recently.
You think I don't see your ass tattooed all the time? I got those cameras. You don't know where they're at.
You're always coming at me with those guns.
It's not a gun, baby.
So sad.
I am. That's true.
Stop plugging it in. So anyway, that's a lot like the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah. Voyagers was on the Sci-Fi Channel. It did get a short second life there, which obviously the way you saw it, and I think a lot of people got a new taste for it, and it had a brief second life. Unfortunately, it's kind of faded into the ether at this point.
Yeah.
But again, it shows us the type of show that could get a second life, did make up the programming blocks of that early Sci-Fi Channel, and kind of give you an idea of what Sci-Fi Channel was intended to be and could be.
100%. It was popular when it came out. It was an unfortunate victim of its time slot and the decisions made by studio execs at the time. It's a fun watch. But I mean, if you've seen Quantum Leap, you kind of get it. I did watch it when it came out on the Sci-Fi Channel. It did end in tragedy. If you ever get a chance, yeah, it's worth a watch. It's a good time. And you can see exactly what it inspired later on. So, if you're really passionate about it, there are many websites that are devoted very specifically to the minutia of the show. Good on them.
Yeah, and I saw there are multiple web podcasts that are devoted just to Voyagers.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when we do these episodes and you find these clusters of intense fascination and love for these small niche properties.
Yeah. The Highlander looks absolutely mercurial compared to this. But even that, it's so niche. Man. There were a series of junior novels, apparently. This had some purchase outside of the show in fan fiction and con presence, but very few people remember.
But that's why we have this podcast.
That's why we do this.
It's true. And we hope that you've enjoyed it, going on this voyage through time with your trusty podcast host. You can be Jeffrey Jones. I'll be Phineas Bogg.
Well, I don't want to be Jeffrey Jones.
That's how the cookie crumbles.
Oh. Wait, am I Jeffrey Jones from Howard the Duck, or am I real life Jeffrey?
So anyway,
I don't want any of these.
you are what you are.
Fuck.
But what we are is Dispatch Ajax, and we hope that you've enjoyed. Please like, share, subscribe. Follow us on all social media. Find out information whenever we post it, which is rarely, but someday. If you wouldn't mind like, sharing, subscribing, please tell your friends, relatives, fellow Voyagers, any Phineas that you happen to find and or know. If you wouldn't minding...
Fog or bog, doesn't matter.
You said Clockwork Bog?
No, I said fog or bog.
Fog or bog. Please rate us.
There was a made-for-TV
All right.
movie.
Please rate us 5 Jeffrey Joneses on the favorite podcast app of your choice.
Gross.
Ideally, Apple Podcasts is the best way for us to get heard and thus seen. We would greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you for going on this voyage with us. But before we fall through time, again, ass backwards into relevant historical events that need to be fixed, Skip, what should they do?
They should definitely remember where the guidebook is or the sports almanac, because those things will ultimately decide your fate and determine whether or not Donald Trump becomes president. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you support your local comic shops and retailers. And from Dispatch Ajax, we would like to say, no matter where you go, there you are.
This cancel business, it could never happen to Voyagers, could it?
Yes, Jimmy? And I'm afraid it has.